Yuba-Sutter.Live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Thank you guys.
Look, there's a clicker. Here we go. Oops. Oops.
And that's all we got.
Good job. There it is.
Now go to the academic stores. Go to the academic stores.
A quick overview of our student vision. The way we approach our student vision is we look at success for students in two perspectives. One is academic success, of course, and the other is success as citizens. And so the way we represent that is through what we call Tiger Stripes this year. In terms of academic success, we want students that are empowered to know what they're learning, develop a growth mindset, and develop key academic skills. And then on the citizenship side, we're looking for students who are responsible, promoting respectful behavior, and building a sense of community. So that's our student vision, and that guides our work.
And these are the results of that work. So this is our dashboard from 2023. And just an update for you guys as you are our authorizing charter.
Mm-hmm. And so it shows that in terms of chronic absenteeism, we're in a good place. Our suspension rate back in 2023 was the one indicator that we had that we looked into, that we had room for growth. And we feel like we were successful in addressing that this year.
And with our size, just one or two students can put you into the orange, because we are the metric that moves that arrow is how many students you suspend. So one or two at a school our size is the difference between going from blue to yellow or blue to orange. So,
and we did see improvement in our suspension rate this school year. And then our English language arts and mathematics indicators are in the blue, which shows above state average scores and growth. Our student enrollment is at 480. Our socioeconomically disadvantaged students is just below 40%. And our English learner percentage has decreased. Over the last 2 years, we've had success reclassifying our English learners through both designated and integrated ELD program. So it's what's happening in the designated ELD plus what's happening in the classroom that we feel is helping the students be successful.
And early intervention, we put the most amount of resources in our TK through second grade English learners.
So can I ask Mr. Leff why there's no performance indicator for that on your?
Mm-hmm. The reason is the N, or the number of students in that subgroup, is below
the threshold.
And so if they publish it, then the students might lose privacy in terms of having their results published.
What is the threshold?
The threshold, it's a number. I think 30? It's less than 30 students, something like that. Yeah. So we've dropped below 30 students.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So that's what you noted right there. Our English learner progress does not have a color code for that reason. And the reason this slide is up there is in the boxes below, it indicates where our subgroups are for English language and math. So one subgroup in the green and three subgroups in the blue. So showing above state average and growth.
And then chronic absenteeism and suspension rates. We have pretty intensive interventions and prevention services, plans, protocols that we use around these to keep us in the categories that you see. And you can see in our suspension rates, that orange category, there was the discrepancy that we addressed this year. So
can I ask you a question? Your absentee rate is really enviable.
Thank you.
Do you use carrots or sticks?
Both.
Here it's on 6.
It's and. We talk about the power of and the tyranny of or. And so when you balance those, we find the best results. And our sticks in our current climate of California and with our families, it's very creative thinking, and most of it's positive approaches to how can we help and what can we do to meet your needs.
Personal calls, problem
Personal
solving
meetings, we look at barriers, very personalized meetings.
So any students that are flagged for maybe having an indicator that they're absent, we're going to meet with the families in person and look at their academic progress, discuss, like Ms. Jolly said, those barriers and seek to address those.
And it's every week. Every single week, we populate a list and address it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions about our academic progress? Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the public on items not on?
No, there were not.
Okay, thank you. Can I get, are there any questions on the consent agenda? If not, can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Motion by member Pretty, second by member Lamb. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. 11, action 20 letters, charters will project the enrollment adjustment.
Yes, so you have enclosed in the board packet a letter submitted to me requesting from Plumas Charter an adjustment to their enrollment. And so I'm recommending that we agreed they will be addressing this when they re-petition their charter petition in the future.
Any question? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
On a motion by member Ciola, second by member Schulte, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. B, expulsion, suspended contracts, we motion police regulations.
Move that we approve as discussed in closed session.
Second. On a motion by member Pretty, second by member Lamb, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains?
I abstains that was not present for the discussion.
Okay, member Roscoe abstained, but motion carries. C, McGraw-Hill study state.
And this is our contract ended this year, so this is an employer contract on supporting our struggling students in reading, specifically with designated ELD using lottery funding. So staff succeeded.
Any questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
I move that we approve.
A second the motion.
On a motion by member Pretty, second by member Schulte, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. D, Wonderworks, McGraw-Hill.
This is we have intervention teachers we use in our school size K-8, and this is their curriculum they use with our students ELA. So once again, our contract ended, so this is a renewal of the contract.
Any questions?
The teachers like this curriculum.
Yeah.
I move that we approve.
Second.
On a motion by member Pretty, second by member Ciola, all those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. McGraw-Hill Wonders.
This is the digital subscriptions that go along with that. Once again, being funded through lottery.
Any questions?
So why are we doing digital for ELA?
Oh, they do. So like when you have we have like bundles. You have like the textbooks. You have supplemental like workbooks, and then like in addition to like, I guess you'd say more enrichment on a class like they have reading intervention you can do on a class like they use.
And so and this has been successful because this is a renewal.
Yeah, and like I said, we do have a lot of programs that we do use, but this is what we've been using in our K-5s.
It's the curriculum that was adopted several years ago. The state has not gone through a new ELA adoption, so that will be happening in the next two years, I believe. So this is something that's needed until the new adoption comes out.
I've used it, but it's actually pretty cool. It also has Wonder Works, I believe, is the intervention fees, right? You mentioned?
Yep.
And then Wonders is an on-labor.
I move that we,
I second the motion.
On a motion by member Pretty, second by member Colty, and all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
F, we keep moving forward. And now we're moving to middle and high schools. As you know, we continue, kids make progress, but we still have kids who need interventions in reading, and we need more tiered scaffolds for reading. So Read 180 is a program we use in our 9th and 10th grade classes in high schools and some of our middle school classes. This is just our renewal of our contract for this year, specifically 1 year, using lottery funding for Read 180.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So previously Read 180, at least in my time here, it took 2 periods of, like, it was a 2-period block, I believe. Is that still accurate?
Depends on what schools you're talking about, the middle.
Middle school was 2-period block. High school, I'm not 100% sure, but I know that I believe it was as well.
I can give you a better answer for that. I haven't looked at the schedule specifically. But I know at like River Valley and Yuba City, it's one period.
Okay.
Just because they have you don't
only
want
6 periods.
Yeah, so we gotta adjust that. They did have a block at River Valley High School.
Yeah, I think it was only 1 period.
There's 1 period. I'd have to check at the middle schools.
Okay.
My question about Read 180, okay, when kids are not readers, whatever it is that's blocking them, and they've gone through the Read 180 program, 9th grade, they did it in middle school, they did it again in 9th grade, they're doing it again 10th grade, and they're still not at or close to grade level reading. Now what?
Well, I mean, at that point, the students they do have to graduate with their graduation requirements. So
Are we giving English credit for Read 180?
They do have English credit for 9th and 10th grade Read 180, yes.
Okay.
And Shelley, that is the issue that has gone on, and that's one of the questions that has to be addressed prior to a student repeating Read 180 year after year after year. It's obviously then something's not working, and then conversations about what's truly blocking the student's learning has to happen.
Right, and there's,
Right.
I remember having seniors who were reading at 6th grade level, if that was so.
Right.
And we did work with them this year on providing more PD. I think part of it is like looking at, it's like the art and science of teaching. Like we had like the curriculum, like getting a PD in addition to that more streamlined PD is helpful. I feel like when kind of post-COVID, once COVID kind of ended, we got back in the classrooms. That was something we looked at. We had to kind of reinvigorate. Was some of our teachers might not have actually had that PD during COVID. It might have been new. And so we had to kind of reinvigorate that PD this year for Read 180.
Well, it's just that it affects everything. I mean, if you're not a reader, you're not going to be successful in science or social studies or math. You're just not going to be successful. So having it rest solely on English is, it seems like it needs to be more of a village type approach.
Well, that's why when we developed that, when you guys developed that literacy goal, I liked how it talked about all content areas.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're a freshman in Read 180 and you're taking biology, if you look at the biology textbook,
you're not going to be
some
able
of
to read
that
it.
like 10-syllable words that I can hardly pronounce. It's a challenge.
Right.
And so we have to give kids equal access to that. And so, we try to throw as many interventions as we can at our students. And sometimes we just have to keep trying and look at our programs, evaluate them.
Well, I was just wondering if there was any conversation about having the other disciplines having materials that are at their level, as opposed to just putting them in a biology class where they might as well be reading Greek. Something to really allow them to have a measure of success so that they don't just give up. Because I see, you see that at some point in high school, especially. But, so just wondering what was out there that we're doing to help these kids, because Read 180 is not necessarily the be all end all of getting kids to read.
I agree. It's okay. We're still working towards it.
Right.
Make a motion for some.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Okay, on the motion by member Cecile, second by member Lamb, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. G, iReady products and services.
We bring forward a new 1-year contract with iReady. We have done an evaluation, and we are not using their PD this upcoming year to cut some financial money out of that. So the teachers have been trained already a lot with the PD, and a lot of the teachers talked about having less time out of the classroom and more time in the classroom. So we've been taking that into account as we do these revisions to our contracts. So this upgraded revision doesn't include that time out of the classroom, which is what they requested, which is good. But this is a 1-year contract. iReady is a assessment program. We do our diagnostics. We do 3 diagnostics throughout the year for K8s. Some of our freshmen use it. And we have seen in math and English using this metric growth with all students. And it varies school by school. Some schools have more growth than others. But we're seeking approval of another year contract with iReady.
Questions? Yeah, I guess my question is with regards to, I know we've talked about iReady before, and I know that different sites use it different ways, and even down different sites, you've got different teachers that rely on it more heavily than others. But correct me if I'm wrong, this is something the district went into during COVID as instead of CASP, because we didn't have the CASP at the state level, but we needed another assessment. We're continuing to use this. So can you go in a little bit further about like, have we seen the metrics improve as far as real numbers go? I understand the benefit of getting like that real number. But I'd like a little bit more information, especially about the benefits as seen not on just iReady, but like the literacy scores throughout the district, as maybe this indicates. And also, how are we doing with classroom control time, making sure that some teachers aren't relying on this as some sort of electronic substitute, or there are some teachers or some classrooms that have it in mass as far as those times go. So those two, can you speak to that?
Yeah, so for the first piece, that was kind of the impetus of using iReady, was because we weren't having basically of gas. But then with the LCAP, one of the indicators in the LCAP that we have to have as one of the priorities is local assessment data. So we have all of our school districts have dashboard. That's a state requirement. But in one of those areas on our metrics to drive our goals, we have to have local indicator data. And you want to have local indicator data that's guaranteed and viable through your whole district. And this guarantees us, this is one example, this guarantees us that we have one local assessment that kids have to take.
That's uniform.
That's uniform versus just pieces, like,
right.
It would be hard to really get data on that from the classroom perspective.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's one important piece. And the second piece, it obviously ties to math and reading. It doesn't address the writing. It's a reading test. So that's something that's still an area of growth. And we do have a performance task we do use for K8, and that is a local writing task that's still I would say it's still a work in progress. The teachers are doing a great job kind of leading that, facilitating that, and I think it's going to be really good next year. The data piece, I would say would be, so they take it in August, the 3rd week of August, all the students, K8 and freshmen, take the diagnostic in math and reading. This year, we looked at our diagnostic from the first assessment in August. Then we looked at our last one in May, and all students, like, it's broken down by like 5 domains for ELA and 4 for math. One example would be phonemic awareness, ELA, growth across the board.
Good.
From the beginning of the year to the end of the year.
Okay.
So it does have an impact, but it's not just the only thing that's helping kids make growth in ELA.
Right.
Because teachers are in the classroom doing interventions, first instruction, and that's a piece of it.
Well, and that's, the impetus behind my secondary question, because I think we all had incredible teachers, and a person who is educated and physically, mentally invested, right, is going to trump screen anything, like, so So that part of, okay, so it's an assessment. How many minutes a week should they be on it then? If it's just an assessment, a temperature take, like 20, 30, and then is that what they're on? They're just on that, or are they using it for like substitute teaching? Like, are they using that to like do lessons and iReady time instead of actually just being up there?
I think it's an additional supplementary intervention program in terms of it gives the kids, each student, a personalized, it's like a 4 or 5 page personalized plan. So like if I take the test and I'm struggling in, vocabulary acquisition, it'll pinpoint your like challenge, like your deficiency. It'll give you a personalized plan, an intervention plan, though, not a first instruction plan. It'll give you an intervention plan based on that skill set.
Okay.
And so when teachers assign it, it's not the first instruction. It's just an intervention based on that skill set. So no classroom should be using iReady their whole classroom, like instruction. That should never happen. It's an intervention for kids who are still deficient.
But we're able to see those numbers anyway, like as far as the time that,
100%.
and then trend, which teachers or which sites, which classrooms have it, and we're addressing ones that might be peaking.
And they also give assignments at home. So the kids have Chromebooks to take home now, and a teacher might assign them for 15 minutes of iReady. I'll give an example. My daughter, I get her, she's in a different district, but I get her assignment sheet from her teacher, and it says she needs to do 15 minutes of iReady math, 15 minutes of iReady reading. And so I go, okay, well, what do you need to do in that? And they actually have it pinpointed based on your assessment data, what skills you have to work on specifically in that domain. So it's not a first instruction program.
But she's doing it outside of the classroom. She's doing it at home.
And it's different though. It depends on what your approach is in the classroom.
Okay.
So some teachers in our district will have like 10 minutes where students are specifically doing their iReady assignment, and they move on to the next part of the lesson. But it's not a first instruction program.
Oh.
It's not meant to be that. It was never developed to be a instructional program. Just a
It's an assessment.
and monitoring and proper smart things like that.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I move we approve.
Second motion. On a motion by member Curdy, second by member Closey, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing for H. Okay, change in level 1 developer fees. And are there any?
I think we'll probably say on that one. I have something to say, but actually I don't think I can do it after or during. Okay.
Well, there's no other comment.
So that way.
Okay, closing the public hearing.
So I wanted to recognize a few things with the developer fees, and I think we've had some good discussion, but the COCOLA has had some kind of questions, and I think the board has as well. I want to address my dual messaging, and as I kind of reflect, I can see how it would be confusing, and really there is a dual messaging here, and that is, I've been talking to the board about our financial situation, declining enrollment, and that is real. I mean, that has been our reality, and that is what we expect this next year. But I also expect our long-term reality to be different. We have the developer study done, and there's over 1,000 housing projects that are on the books for Yuba City. It takes a long time to expand the capacity of your facilities, and so that's what developer fees are about. So really, the budgeting is kind of next year, and we also do a 2-year projection. But I'll be honest with you, those projections, even the second and third year out, are not terribly accurate at this point, right? I have the most accuracy in my 1 year out, but we still need to plan for the long term, and so that's what the developer fee study is about. We do need to plan for the long-term growth of this city and this community, and also for our schools. We actually we've already seen this. I mean, we had to add 4 portables at River Valley High School. So we've already had to utilize, we've seen some of that. And the high schools are kind of where we're most limited as far as our capacity versus the Ks. Going up to the 517 fee is also really more of a reflection of inflation, right? The cost to build nowadays is tremendously more than it used to be. So that's really what this, I mean, that cost is set up by the state allocation board, and it's based on, you know, an index of construction prices. So that's what the increase to the 517 is. So I wanted to kind of recognize really my short-term planning for budgeting purposes, which is real, versus the really long-term planning that we need to do for facilities capacity improvements. And then I also want to, you know, it's interesting, actually, Kirsten, you did bring up a good point, you know, the cost of, what does it do to the cost of housing and the impact to the community members here. You know, I was kind of reflecting on when I purchased my first house, you know, my income compared to the value of that house was not as different or as much of a difference as you see nowadays. What I mean by that is, you know, 20, 30 years ago, your income could have been about 50% of the value of the house. It's now more like, your income's like 20, 25% of the value of the house. So times have definitely changed. So I understand that challenge. But this district also needs to, you know, plan for the future. So those are my couple thoughts on that. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
What is, do we have any special earmarks for the additional revenues? I mean, does it all just go into the same slush fund, or are we going to hold, like, if we get this additional amount, will we put it in a special fund?
So yes, that's a very
building more.
That's a very good question. So it goes into a separate fund, Fund 25, specifically for developer fees. It's required to go there. Every school district does that. And
the entire amount, right? Goes into that Fund 25.
The entire amount that we collect in developer fees goes in this restricted separate fund, Fund 25. And it is restricted on what you can use it for, you know, and mostly capacity related projects. Doesn't have to just be classrooms, but it has to do with the increased, enrollment in the school district. So kind of getting back to part of the reason we had Capital Public Finance Group come back, Kathy Domenico, is to explain the whole process of financing schools. And it goes back to really, there is kind of three different kind of legs of the stool, you know, to funding schools. One is the developer fees. That's a revenue source, but that will only pay for 20 to 25% of what the need is to increase the capacity of your schools.
Not even that.
I was gonna say if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. Yeah,
We have like 100,000 in that fund right now, right?
Well, I'm just saying generally, over time, you know, that's kind of big picture, but you're right. You know, if you're lucky, I agree. The other part is what communities do to fund their school is pass a general obligation bond. And the third part of that is the state matching portion of it. So those are the three kind of revenue sources that help increase the capacity of schools. So what we're asking.
Can I clarify? Because Scott and I had a conversation about this, because when you hear capacity, I think people believe building schools because we don't have enough classroom spaces because our population is growing. And we had a discussion about that, and Scott clarified for me that's not necessarily what capacity means.
Well, so there's a couple of things on capacity. So first of all, 40% of our classrooms are temporary in nature. So we don't, I mean, that's not even considered. I mean, that's not even real capacity. That's the capacity that's going away. It only has a set amount of life. So these funds can be used to replace portables, but also there's other aspects to it. I mean, if because of the growth in a school, and this has happened on all our campuses, you have a small school, you throw a bunch of portables on there. Now you don't have the gym or the NPR space or the other library spaces or the office space to deal with this. These are all capacity related issues. So, it does some of the ones that you were thinking. Okay. So anyways, that's what.
Well, there's so many homes going out in Terrebonne, and I don't know how. I mean, Terrebonne School and River Valley are going to be there's a ton, way too many. But yeah, the schools are going to be.
So the more we can, so kind of to finish the thought on what do you do with these funds? I mean, ideally, if we could build this up a little bit in order to kind of figure out what are we going to do, how are we really going to prioritize that facility master plan that has a big price tag on it, right? This is just a piece. The more we can, get state matching dollars, which means we need money to have it. It's matching dollars. So we need money to match the state matching funds. Bring those state dollars into this community to help do some of these projects. So.
What was the last thing that we used from 25 for last big together?
I don't know I just don't know. We also have another fund called Melrose that is also for this similar project. So I don't know if the River Valley was funded out of those or the portables at River Valley. I can get back to the board on that. I don't know.
Is the estimated amount annually with an increase to 517 per square foot is estimated to be just over 500,000?
Yeah, it fluctuates depending on development, but around 500,000. Yeah.
So last year, our collection, 22-23 was $505,713.60. So it's gone up. So the fee proposal is 25% increase. Based on the 408, that's rough, 25%. I'm just doing that in my head. So $404.08 up to $517.
Yeah, so we did not increase during the last cycle. So this is
but we did do a developer study 3 years ago, a development fee study, or y'all did. So
it's probably 4 years ago under the prior cycle. Yeah.
So, but we're not
in our term.
Yeah.
Before you guys.
Right. But you did a fee study to justify it. But we're not doing that this term around. Is that what you're calling capital?
Yeah, so they did a fee study.
PFT. Yes. That's their fee study. It's from our vendor.
Yes.
I'm assuming this is the state max.
Yes.
I just really like to see a little bit more or hear a little bit more about what the parameters of what this money can be used for. Like I understand that it's for, capacity or to build up schools and whatnot. I just don't know, is it possible to use it for painting or this or that?
You can't, no, you can't. So I can tell you right now, you can't use it for maintenance.
Okay.
You can't really use it for modernization either. It's really for capacity related, so increased enrollment related projects. So again, with you kind of like saving up to buy a house. That's kind of what you need to do with the district, is to save these funds up. So when you need to add some portables that cost anywhere from $600,000 to $800,000 per classroom, if you're doing portables, hopefully we do something better than that. But I mean, that's the minimum we have to do. You need a lot of capital to be able to do that. So, yeah.
So last question. Just curious. So Londa had mentioned, we have new development that's happening in the Terrabuena area. It's part of those houses are constructed and part of the process. The fee increase would really impact the communities that have not started development, correct? Not the ones that are already.
Yeah, so the fee gets charged typically when they pull the building permit. So not in the initial stages of planning, but when they actually pull the permit, they're going to start construction. So that.
But for a community, I know for a single house, that I understand the process, but for a community that's going in, a developer, KB Homes, let's just say, for them, for that community, are they pulling that permit before they start actual, all the piping and all that other stuff, right?
No, it's usually the actual construction of the houses. So they often will prep the land.
Yeah.
And then it's when they pull the permit to actually start building the foundation, that kind of stuff. That's when they usually pay the fees.
So here's your question.
Individual house.
Yeah, so not the whole not the full, let's say 500 houses.
And they do that actually is so actually kind of like this the skip program that we actually just
Adopted for Melrose.
what's that?
Sorry.
It's not Melrose, but it's the skip program was essentially getting all over. So there was I forget 70-something homes. The primary benefit, in my opinion, of that program was we got all the fees up front. They're going to build it over time. So program that type of housing development, often they would build, let's say, maybe 5 to 10 houses at a time. So it would take, whatever amount of years before we'd actually get those revenues. So that's usually it. So when there's say 100 units, we're not going to get it when they say this is the plan, this is what we're going to do. They get it when they build 5 houses at a time. They pull 5 permits, we get the fees, they build the 5 houses.
So like in my area, so they maybe started on 10 when there's supposed to be 98 homes. So
Yeah.
they started 10, so they're gonna start pulling permits for the rest.
As they start building.
And then those are gonna be tacked on
Yes.
the new fee, yeah. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to address how do I say it? As far as forecasting, because I know the thought is, and thank you for approaching the dual messaging and breaking that down, because that was a little confusing. But we see the units going in, right, or they're the anticipated units going in, anticipating based on a developer percentage, like their own, what do you call it, formula that they use. Like typically this is, 0.7 kids come with every unit. It's, whatever. Anyway, so, but then when I look at the fees that Kathy provided us, from her May 23rd slideshow, there must have been a lot more building in 21-22, like a huge amount of building, because our fees in 21-22 was $725,815.90. So that's 25%. 25% less in 22-23, which is $500,000, right? So there were a lot more units in that, because the fee didn't go up because you guys adopted the fee in 21, right? So there were a lot more units that went in based on this information. Would you say that's probably accurate?
Yeah.
So then I go over to your budget review, the enrollment trend numbers from the budget review, and I said, okay, well, if that was 21-22, then probably 22-23, we can see an uptick in enrollment, right? Because based on the the huge influx of development during 21-22, we would be able to see that correlate. And it's still, we went down 117 students from that. So it doesn't necessarily correlate to because a lot of units are going in, there are a lot of options for different ways of schooling. They don't just all, hitch a ride on the public school bus nowadays. And we still have that less time, which might be it might be a lagging indicator if they didn't move in right away or whatever, but that's just, I just wanted to,
It's not a one-to-one correlation.
And I know what we're doing here is guessing, and that's all formulas are for. It's not about assurance, it's about a guess, and that's why we're even here. But that was 3 years ago that we increased the fee, and now we want to do it again by 25%. I know it doesn't sound like a lot when you're talking $5.17, but when you talk about fees going up 25% for the customer, we call them development fees, but we know it will be the customer that pays that price. So what is the other question I have is we got Melrose, right? We're getting that.
Yes, we are. That is a revenue source that will be going away because that's I would say an old program that we no longer collect fees for, so that will go down to zero over time.
Okay. So then aside from the bond, what other fees do we currently collect?
Well, the bond has to be passed though.
Right, aside from bonds.
For facilities.
So developer fees are the primary method for real estate, residential and commercial real estate at this point. We do have Melrose districts that are still paying those fees, and those fees are starting to go away because they only last 30 years and then they start going away. So that's why our revenue fees will be going completely away from that Melrose at some point.
Okay.
And actually, and that's part of another level of complexity. We need to wean off of using our Melrose for construction, maintenance type projects, and that has to be all district funded. So I have a 10-year plan for that.
Okay. So then there isn't anything on our property taxes that are for the school.
There is. So there are prior bonds that were passed to build River Valley High School, River Bend,
Okay.
other improvements.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So again, that's one of the 3 legs of doing facilities in a community.
Yeah, and I need to chime in because I've been here and I've watched bonds fail and I've watched bonds pass. And I've watched this district try to figure out how to make the necessary repairs, deal with growth when it was growth, and then also deal with what we're dealing in terms of our temporary housing for our students. So, and one of the number one things that the community will say, whether it's the medical field or the real estate field that we'll talk to people about, is that in order to attract people to the community, it means that we need to have good schools. And part of that is what our schools look like. And so I know that it's never popular to increase fees. Trust me, I'm married to a husband, and we did not buy in the Melrose area because of just his belief system. So I know this is not a popular thing, but I do want to support the notion of increasing developer fees. It is never going to do all that we need to do based upon our master facility plans, which was how many million? 900.
The gazillion.
Yeah, right. And I know, and I just, I understand that this is a difficult thing. I understand in our community. But if in fact we are going to continue to meet the needs of our students, it is one source of revenue that we have available to us in order to make sure that we have the capacity to serve our students.
Yeah, I know it's not popular, but it's a drop in the bucket that counts. And I mean, virtually every surrounding area district has done it. I mean, even Marysville has done it, and they're growing much more quickly than us as far as housing is going. So it's clearly not a deterrent in that sense. So I definitely for it would make a motion that we approve the developer fees.
I second your motion.
Okay. On a motion by member Roscoe and second by member Pretty, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Member Ciola?
Yes.
Member Park?
Yes.
Member Lamb?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty? Yes. Member Quilty?
Yes.
President Domingue? No. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, property and liability premium applied. What is worth that?
Oh, yeah. So from that, you'll notice that we have a significant increase to our property and liability. It is primarily related to our liability premiums. We are not alone. This is happening across the state. And I would say the primary factor that is affecting, well, I will say different communities have different reasons why their property and liability are being affected, but every district is being affected by recent legislation changes to sexual abuse and molestation laws that allow victims to go back 30 plus years for claims. And every district is getting hit really hard on this one. So I think we're going to expect our liability premiums to increase in the foreseeable future, but this is one aspect of it.
Questions?
So are we able to shop this, or is this just kind of the the vendor that we go with?
So actually, this was, you can shop it, yes, and I think actually this district changed a few years ago to our current joint powers authority. So school districts are very unique when it comes to liability, both property and liability. We tend to, not always, but tend to group with other districts to get the best rates possible. And that's what we do. So we're part of a joint powers authority with, gosh, hundreds of school districts to get our level of coverage up to multi-$100 million levels, right, and also to get the best premiums we possibly can. The larger your pool, the more insurable you are, the lower your premiums are when it comes down to a per student or, per district rate. So we could go out and shop it. But I think we're in one of the better pools from what I would consider a risk management standpoint, and also the size of the pool that gets us the pricing that I think is the most competitive. They shop so the pool shops the rates every year. So we're looking at negotiating with different insurance carriers. It's not just one insurance carrier with a level. I mean, the multi-billions of dollars of insurance that this pool covers. We probably have 30 different carriers in there taking different pieces of it. That chunk gone from 1 million to 5 million to 5 million, just all the way up to over $500 million. So I think we're in a good spot, but it's something to keep an eye on for sure.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from member Orozco, and second by member Cianciolo. Are all those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. J, approval of the 24-25 LCAP.
We seek approval. We presented on June 11th the update to this current LCAP and the new LCAP with the 3 new goals and the 2 new equity multiplier goals. So staff seeks approval for this year's 2024 LCAP.
Any questions? No motion? No way approved. Second. Motion by member Pretty, second by member Penn. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. K, adoption of the 24-25 proposed budget.
We presented this at the last board meeting, and we're seeking approval for the budget. It has not changed since we presented it at the last board meeting.
Question? May I have a motion?
To approve.
Second. Okay, on a motion by member Roscoe, second by member Lamb. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Fantastic. Board reports, information, any meetings? No. Okay. Written communications from the public? There are none. Oh, just kidding. There's one. Just this. Oh, we did receive a letter, and our Mr. Button is handling this.
Right, so it was a letter from the District Council 16 regarding a painting company that they're dealing with, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So yes, Mr. Button and Mr. Ennis Super Bentley are aware of this and will be talking to that.
That's correct.
Perfect. Okay, comments from the employee representatives? Perfect.
Okay. I'll be short and sweet, I promise. Good evening, board. My name is Mercedes Geraldo, and I still represent all of our classified workers here at Yuba-Sutter Unified. And I apologize for missing you the last couple of meetings, but it is wedding season. So I've had 2 back-to-back weddings, one being my son. So, it's kind of keeps you busy. But what a year we've had. As classified unit, we've pushed to negotiate and completed our Me Too negotiations. Unfortunately, we lost 1 member and then a couple retirees that were really close to our hearts. So that was very moving for us. We endured layoffs. That was really fun. But, we persevered and we're here. We got a lot done. When we look around our schools, we see the hard work of our classified employees, making sure that they're cleaned every day, that our kids are there every day, that our kids are fed. And we closed out the school year. I missed the very last day of school for the first time in 21 years or 22 years or however many years. Somebody keep track for me. Did miss that last day of school. But school's not over for classified employees. Many of us, along with our teaching partners, turned around and went to summer school. But also we have our bus drivers out there. We're feeding the community. That food service workers are out there, not just feeding the kiddos that are in school, but they're out there making sure that our community is fed, so that we as a district are doing a service to our community. We've got lots of deep cleaning going on, lots of projects happening this summer. I saw Mr. Beckins and Mr. Bentley on River Valley campus the other day doing some work, maybe looking at those things, and I appreciate you looking into that other thing for me. And our work just continues, and we're not ready to stop. So we're here. We're going to go strong. One thing I want to say to that Read 180 piece that you were talking about is that most of those Read 180 classes have paras in there, but the paras don't always get trained. And relying on the teacher to train them is not fair to the teacher. It's not fair to the para. So I would encourage that we invest the time to make sure that everyone in those classrooms that are teaching these kids, especially these young readers or these low readers, sometimes they're not young, sometimes they're in high school, but we need to make sure that they're all highly trained so that they can provide that program to those students and make them successful. So at that, I'm going to say good evening.
Good evening, board, staff, and anybody in the audience. I'm Dina Lukens, president of the Yuba City Teachers Association. A couple of things I'd like to address this evening. I'd like to just remind us all that budgets do reflect our priorities. We know that that's an issue at the state level. We've worked with governors to make sure that our budgets reflect the importance of public education. In my 30 plus years here in Yuba City Unified, having watched the budgets of Yuba City Unified, I've watched the percentage of our expenditures go from 50% or higher to 37% with the budget you adopted today. We continue to look to assess what that means and why, but it's something we should all be looking at is how did we go from a heavy people business with so much of our expenditures in people, as I remember the layoffs in 0809 and 910 when Deputy Superintendent Jahal used to talk about, we're a people business and 80% of our budget is in salaries and benefits. So I want us to keep looking at, are our budgets truly reflecting all of our priorities? Because the people directly serving our kids should be a huge priority. We'll continue to wait as you may have finalized a budget today, but we're still waiting for state budgets to be finalized. Summer school is happening. I was on the River Valley campus today because they needed a sub, and I said yes. It was fine. They're doing Edgenuity. It is not teacher-intensive activity. I'm not always sure it's the best way for our students to be learning, but it is the way we have adopted for summer school. I hope we will continue to focus on strategies to engage our students in first instruction instead of summer school Edgenuity to make up credits. When you talk tonight about the importance of reading, as I helped students try and navigate Edgenuity, if they can't read, they can't access those multiple choice questions. And it's all about multiple choice questions. It's all about, can I read the question to even begin to answer the question that's being asked? So I continue to urge us to work on first instruction priorities. And as part of that, I have said it before, I'll say it again, my biggest push is that we need to get a handle on student cell phone usage. The evidence continues to emerge overwhelmingly of the importance of getting our kids away from screen time, how long we should wait, the strategies to help families take their kids' cell phones away and help our students with their addiction. Social media is designed to addict our children, and it's working. We're asking parents to fight mega billion-dollar corporations to protect their children. in an industry that wants to addict our kids to social media. It's not healthy. It leads to bullying and increasing anxiety. We've got to save our children, and cell phones are the way we can do it. I urge this board and our district to make cell phones one of our biggest priorities. We need to help our students deal with their cell phone addiction. I know some of our schools have made really good progress in helping our students deal with their addiction. We've found that if we're successful at that, we decrease the amount of bullying, we increase the amount of student interaction. It is disturbing that the lunchroom is so quiet now. And it's quiet because you can't sit next to the person and talk to them. You'll text the person sitting next to you. We need to help our kids. They are desperately seeking help. But we also need to help our parents. Help our parents to understand what the evidence is saying, and then help them have the tools to figure out how to fight against the kid who says, but mom, everybody's got a cell phone. But mom, everybody can text at midnight. We've got to help. And I think this is, if we can get a handle on this, we can deal with so many other issues, because it's an engagement issue, and our cell phones in students' hands will help us. AB 3216, recently enacted by the legislature, signed by our governor, says that our state recognizes the importance of cell phone policies that help keep our students safe at school by limiting their cell phone access. It will require full implementation by July 2026, but I urge this board to act sooner. Take the leading edge, or somewhat leading edge. LA Unified just did it. LA Unified voted to keep cell phones out of student hands during the school day. We need to do this. We need to take action to save our children. The Surgeon General has asked that we put warning labels on social media because of the impact on our students. Our parents need our help. Our students need our help. It's time for us to take the lead and adopt a very clear cell phone policy that says our students will not have their cell phones out while they're at school. And then we need a way to ensure that we can enforce that policy. And some of the ways of doing that has been to, first of all, engage our parents in our community, help support our parents to support this policy. And then also, I've seen other districts that don't. You've heard about them on national media. We need a way to allow a student to still have a cell phone at school, but not have access to it. Most of our students are going to be able to follow a cell phone policy. Some of our students will need our help. And those students that need our help, we can help them. And we can help them buy those pouches. And I encourage us to purchase enough pouches so that I don't want every student to come to school and put their cell phone in a pouch, because most of them are doing what they're supposed to do. And when you tell them this is the rule, they will follow it. But for those students who need our help, we can help them by saying, you have to check your cell phone in the morning, and we're going to put it in a little case, and you can still carry it around with you, because they have to have their cell phone on them. And you can come back at the end of the day and we'll unlock it. They do this at concerts now. If you go to a concert, you have to actually put your cell phone in that little case, and they'll unlock it for you when you exit. We can do this. And I think it is the most important thing we can do for our kids, because if we can help them deal with this, we can better engage them in the classroom. So I urge you to take a leadership role in our community and help our students and our community and our families get kids to deal with their addictions. And on a final note, I'm asking that you close this board meeting with a moment of silence. And I ask that you close this board meeting in a moment of silence. It's going to be hard. For Clarissa Reeson. Clarissa Reeson was an elementary teacher at Lindcrest School for many years. I was at Lindcrest when they did their celebration of life for Clarissa, because it was during the school day. So they couldn't go, so they did a separate one. She had an amazing impact on students, but also on teachers and her colleagues at Lindcrest. She also had an impact district-wide because she acted as a science coach in this district. She also had an impact statewide. She was part of the Instructional Leadership Corps for CTA. CTA contacted me shortly after Clarissa's death when they became aware of it, and are donating 100 copies of Into the Classroom and special education guides for our new teachers in the name of Clarissa Reeson, for all of the work she did to help improve instructional quality statewide. So I simply ask that you close this meeting with a moment of silence in the name of Clarissa Reeson. Thank you.
Let's move board members.
Just as everyone has shared, we are in the midst of summer school. I believe we on July 14th. And so you will have senior graduates come to the board meeting in July. We have a meeting in July, so the last Tuesday in July. And then also, I just want to do a shout out to Chelsea Slattery and her nutrition service department. They've been highlighted in the news over the last few weeks for just kind of for innovation. They highlighted our kickoff for our summer program that happened at the Gap, the Shade Park. And so Chelsea's kind of leading the pack in terms of the Farm to Fork initiative in the area, and has been getting a lot of kudos for the work she does. So I just want to do a shout out to Chelsea and her department. They're doing a great job and feeding a lot of kids. And yes, Mercedes, we have a lot of our certificated staff out there getting the classrooms and campuses ready right now. Classified, sorry, did I say? Sorry, classified. I'm looking at you, classified, because they are. I mean, it's hard to believe we are starting school. I know, but they're pushing hard, and so they're classified staff is something else. Oh, sorry, classified. And then our teachers who are teaching summer school. So yes, everyone's still. Didn't feel like we shut down yet.
Tomorrow's date, 50%.
Is that what it is?
Tomorrow's 50%.
Just feels like it's.
That's not the name is counting.
Our classified staff. So kudos to everyone who's working this summer to get us ready and get our kids through this summer.
What's the enrollment is for summer school? Like, it's not as much as it had been.
It was in that Friday letter, right?
Yeah, I have to go back.
The whole thing. Not the whole thing. Sorry. I stand.
I know our number this year was lower than it had
Yeah,
been in the
because
past.
their PE class is already collapsed.
Yeah.
I know that was last.
We have more
Friday.
teachers there too, I think there's more sections.
And kids are getting, it's interesting to watch too. Kids are getting through their credits because they're working really hard at that.
Oh, yeah, I was buying checks on it.
Yeah.
14. So, on June 14th, Friday letter, total summer enrollment. I don't know that it has total.
I think we broke it down by like
There's
oh yeah, we have.
Was it like 600?
We have like 323 at the lanes, 152 at the park, 282 Berry, 342 AK, and 905 at River Valley.
I think they're way down now at Riverfront.
Yeah. Okay, it said that students finish those courses,
Yeah.
if they only need like 5 units, maybe.
so is the summer school all electronic?
No, that's the high school. High school has ingenuity credit recovery.
Okay, and that's all a student sitting behind a screen.
I mean, the teachers obviously facilitate activities and intervene with the students so that they don't.
If a teacher wanted to go off screen and actually just teach a class for summer school, would that be allowed?
That would be something I think we would consider. We want to have a uniform approach just to make sure the kids are getting the same access, but there's nothing that discourages a teacher from doing lessons. So like if you see kids struggling on like writing a thesis statement, take a group of 5 kids over there and teach them how to write a thesis statement.
Sounds like fun. They need volunteers. I love thesis statements. Love sweet.
All right, guys.
You can
President Donnie's upset. It's annoying.
I'm just trying to move along. Okay, if there's any objections, to doing a moment of silence, please go ahead and share. Otherwise, can we do a moment of silence for Mrs. Reason, please? Next board meeting is going to be July 23rd, 2024. Open session is going to be at 7 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Yeah, motion by member Scasiola, second by member.
Yuba-Sutter.Live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth of Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties.